Howdy folks, and welcome to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're making a very simple coffee cake. You need a cup of buttermilk in this. Now, I did not have buttermilk, so what I did is a cup of regular milk and just 1 tablespoon of vinegar. You can also use lemon juice in it, and I have a video up where I actually did that substitution. I'll link it to this, but you just pour it in there and let it sit. Now, I know that right now with prices being what they are, to spend $4 or $5 on an ingredient that you're going to use in something that should be fairly inexpensive, you know, lots of folks don't have that. You can use any milk in this, and you can also get powdered buttermilk that you can use in baking. So if you happen to have some of that, you can use it in this, and you can use evaporated milk in it, or even powdered milk. Just whatever you have, you can use in this recipe. It'll work. The more fat content though really gives you a slightly richer cake. I have 3/4 of a cup of plain sugar, about a cup and 2/3 to a cup and 3/4 of flour. You want, you know, it's kind of hard to measure flour exact, but if you get it in that area, it'll do fine. You want a stick of butter, and I've divided that in half. Half of it's going in my batter and half of it's going in my topping. I have 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Again, half of it's going in my batter, half of it's going in my topping. I have a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. That's going to make my cake rise just a little bit, not too much though. And I have a 1/2 cup of chopped pecans for my topping. Now, you don't have to add those, but they do add a lot to it. You can just do a crumb topping with the butter and the cinnamon and sugar, and it will be fine if you don't have the nuts. And I'm going to add about a teaspoon of my vanilla. You know, if you've been watching, you know I've been using the vanilla feeds tomorrow. And if you don't have yours yet and you need vanilla and you want to help out a good cause, I will put the link to this vanilla in the description of this video again. But anyway, let's get this kind of started here. Go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees, and you're going to need a greased 8x8 or 9x9 pan. You can also use a round pan. And you could make this in muffin tins. Now, I'm putting my baking soda and my cinnamon in my batter portion here. And I'm going to kind of whisk that together. And I'm also going to go ahead and add my sugar in there. Get all your dry ingredients in and give them a little bit of a whisk. This recipe doesn't have any eggs. For those folks who have egg allergies, this would be a good one. And I actually had people say, I don't like coffee cake because I don't like coffee. Well, coffee cake doesn't actually have any coffee in it. It is something that you would have with coffee for breakfast, or maybe for an afternoon snack with coffee. And as times get a little tougher, you know, we're going to need these kind of inexpensive snacks so we can continue to have get-togethers. This would maybe be good for something to take to your Sunday school class to have before church started. Or if you and the girls wanted to get together, or maybe the guys wanted to get together before they went hunting or fishing this fall, you could make them up some of this. Well, this is a 1/2 teaspoon, and I want at least a teaspoon in there. At least a teaspoon. You know, vanilla makes the dessert. Okay, and go ahead and pour your buttermilk in. And you can see that stiffen that milk right up. The vinegar does a very similar thing in your baking to what the buttermilk enzymes would do. So you can certainly substitute it. It's not no big deal. I almost forgot to put my butter in there. And this butter would have definitely mixed in easier if I would have put it in with the flour and stuff before I added my milk. So if you're mixing this up at home, put your butter in before your milk. Heaven's sakes. But if you forget, it'll mix in. Just take a little more effort. And I'll probably have to get my fork out here to mix it instead of my whisk. Maybe even my spoon might work better. This is not a recipe that you really need to get your mixer out far enough, and it's not that big of a batch, and it's not that hard to mix, especially if your butter's soft and if you put it in at the right time. All right, that butter's mixed up there pretty good. It mixes in much easier, like I said, if you put it in before your milk. But if you forget, you can still mix it up. And you could even stick it in the microwave and melt it to make it a little easier if you do like I did and forget. Now we're going to go ahead and dump our batter in our greased pan. And I just greased mine by wiping a stick of butter in it. Alrighty, now I'm going to add my cinnamon and leave my nuts for last. And I'm going to mix this up with just a fork. Now you don't want to over mix a crumb topping, and we have a video just on crumb toppings. And I thought about just mixing this up before the video so it was a little shorter, because we do have that up. But you know, it's pretty simple. The only real way you can mess this up is if you over mix it. You don't want to over mix it and turn your crumb topping into a batter. You know, you don't want to make it like a paste. And just kind of take a fork or a pastry blade you could use with this and kind of cut the butter into the brown sugar. And if you don't have brown sugar, you can use regular white table sugar in this. It will make a fine crumb topping. And if you don't like pecans, you can use another nut, or like I said, you don't have to have the nuts. You can make a coffee cake without the nuts. And you could use this batter to make a cream cheese coffee cake. We also have up a video on cream cheese filling. You could put some cream cheese filling in here and then add your crumb topping and have a cream cheese coffee cake, or not put the crumb topping on it. You could also use some different pie fillings or preserves to have a fruit coffee cake. You could do apple or cherry or raspberry. Just kind of dollop a little in there right now before you put the topping on. And you can do that and do the topping, or do that and not have the topping, and you bake it on there, whether it's preserves or some pie filling. Now this is starting to get crumbly. I've still got some pretty big pieces of butter in here, and you can actually even do this with your hands if you want to. It gets a little messy though, and I'm doing it in kind of a small bowl because I'm using a fork and I don't want to have to get down inside of a real deep bowl, but also because I wanted you to be able to see what I was doing. I'm going to go ahead and add my pecans in here and continue to mix it just another second, not too much longer, because like I said, you don't want to turn it into a batter. You want it to be crumbly. Alright, that's pretty good. You just want to make sure you get that butter kind of all through that brown sugar. And I am going to use my fingers to spread this out on the top of my coffee cake. You can also bake this in muffin pans if you want to. This would probably make about a dozen muffins, or 6 of the great big muffins, and it would make a good breakfast to take it with you if you wanted to go somewhere. Like if you did want to do it for your Sunday school class or something, maybe do it in the muffins instead of in a coffee cake. And you can eat this either hot, like let it sit and cool for 5 minutes or so, and then you can eat it hot, or you can eat it cold. So you can make this for breakfast ahead of time. And this certainly, even if you're using the nuts and you're buying everything at full price, is cheaper than the little individual pre-made cakes. Alright, now that is all there is to mixing it up and getting it ready. Now all you're going to do is stick it in a 350-degree oven for about 35 minutes. Give or take 5 minutes either way, depending on your oven. You want to, it should have like the bounce back thing, or you should be able to stick a toothpick in it or a cake tester, and it should come out clean. So I'm going to put this in my oven because it's preheated, and we'll be back in a few minutes. We have just a minute before our timer goes off, and I wanted to share Psalm 34:4 with you. I sought the Lord, and He heard me, and delivered me from all my fears. We are living in a troubled, turbulent, fearful time, and I want you to know that no matter what it is that is concerning you, what it is that keeps you awake at night, or that you are afraid of, the Lord is not only able to deliver you from that and give you peace, but He is waiting for you to come to Him and ask Him. And He wants to deliver you from that fear. No matter how great the fear is, the peace of the Lord is greater. And in these times, if you don't know that peace, I sure do hope you seek Him and you find it, because that's really all you have to do. Okay, it smells really good in here, so let's check this and see what we got. Oh my goodness, this looks so good. And you can see the butter that's in the topping. It's kind of sizzling all around the edge. Now you do want to let this sit for at least 5 minutes before you cut it. And I'm going to link in here our cream cheese frosting, because a lot of folks like a little drizzled on top of it, and also the cream cheese filling. If you want to do a cream cheese coffee cake, all you need is that cream cheese filling, and you would probably leave the crumb topping off and just put the cream cheese filling in there and bake this. We're going to do a cream cheese coffee cake, but it might be a little while, so you'll have both of these recipes, so you can do this with cream cheese. And keep in mind, you can add some pie filling into this, probably not more than half of a jar in this much, or some preserves. Just dollop some strawberry or raspberry jam or preserves in there before you bake it and make a fruit coffee cake. So whether you want it just plain, you want to do it in muffins, or you want to do it like this is the perfect recipe for a make-ahead breakfast, a fairly easy breakfast that you can make the morning you're going to have it, something you can take to Sunday school or to the office or whatever, or for an afternoon snack with your coffee, or maybe a brunch with the girls, something like that. Hang on to this recipe. If you haven't already, before you go, please don't forget to click like and subscribe. Share this one with your friends. We sure do appreciate you joining us here in the Hillbilly Kitchen, and until next time, remember to put God first.